YouTube, what's going on, man? It's Father Dark. I'm up bright and early, Saturday morning, and we're just going to be talking about in this video some of the things, a little bit of speculation, some of the things that we know from leaks and, just different things that they've said in game from, events and the storyline and stuff like that, that we can kind of get a picture and an idea of what we might be looking at for season 2. Now, I just want to preface and say a lot of this stuff is just from leaks, and a lot of the leakers that usually leak this stuff are pretty verified, and they usually do leak things that end up coming to fruition. But nonetheless, though, that's still that's the thing with leaks, they're leaks. So take everything with a grain of salt. Nonetheless, let's go ahead and jump into it. So the first thing that we got is potential characters that could be coming. Now, first, I'm going to go ahead and just cover some of the ones that I don't necessarily think are coming, but some that there are voice lines in the game, or that there have been, data miners have found information about them and stuff like that. So let's start off with Captain Marvel. Captain Marvel has had a few voice lines, and I do think that would be an interesting choice. That could definitely switch the game up a lot, and I think that'd be a fun character. But I don't necessarily think that she'll be coming this season, though. But at some point, she probably will, simply because they do already have voice lines in the game for her. After that, we have Deadpool. Now, this is another character that I would absolutely personally love to have in the game, and I do think that it's interesting that they do have like one of the calling cards, or whatever they're called in Marvel Rivals, that have Deadpool already. I believe you got that one from a Snap joint thing that they had going on, or something like that. I can't remember exactly how you got it, but I have seen a lot of people in the game that have had it, and I do think that it's interesting because we already have Wolverine, and we have the Wolverine skin from Wolverine and Deadpool, and they specifically put Wolverine and Deadpool. They didn't just give him his Wolverine skin from literally anything else, because it's not like that was the first time that we've seen the core Wolverine skin. So they could have literally just put one in from anything else. So I do think that's interesting, but I also don't think that he's coming as well. Also, too, we have Hitmonkey. Hitmonkey has been being talked about for a while now, pretty much since back in late November, early December, when the game released. Data miners have found files that have led to Hitmonkey being a potential character, but I also don't think that he's coming. It doesn't really seem like it fits the theme of anything that's really going on right now. Next, we have Angela. Now, Angela is an interesting character simply because Angela was originally a Spawn character, and I kind of missed what happened where Angela went from being a Spawn character to being a Marvel character, and how they've tied her in with being part of the whole Thor lineage and family and stuff like that. Apparently, she's supposed to be the sister of Loki and Thor somehow. I have to go back and look into that to see exactly when that transition happened and how Marvel got the rights, or what happened with that. But I do think that she'd be a really interesting character, kind of like another like a magic type of character, But I also don't see that happening anytime soon. Now, the next character, Ultron. Ultron has actually been in the files for a long time, to the point to where people have actually found and data mined his model, his skill set and abilities and stuff like that, along with his actual picture for what that looks like. Like when you pop up the screen that shows you all of your abilities, along with the little picture of the character next to it. So that is really interesting. But I also don't think that he'll be coming. I think that he's coming, just not in season 2. I think that they're going to have their own season for that, which would really be really interesting season. Kind of like where they'll do a build up, kind of like how they've done Doctor Doom, but just like a longer build up maybe. But they said that he was going to be a strategist, a healer. So that could definitely be really interesting. And as someone who primarily plays a healer, just because a lot of people don't really, most of the people in the game love to be DPS. So I would definitely love a new strategist. That would be right up my alley, but also don't think he's coming. Now, Blade is a really controversial one, because there's a lot of people that want Blade to come to the game and are expecting him to come to the game, only because he's been being built up this whole entire time. So there's that, but I also just don't think that I don't know exactly why, but I just don't think Blade is coming in season 2. I think he's definitely coming. I just don't think he's coming in season 2. And as far as what his abilities would be, there's only speculation at this point. But like I said, they have the model in the game, which has made a lot of people think that he would definitely be coming. The only reason I think that the model is in the game personally is because they put him in that map, the one with where he's tied up and stuff, or chained up in Dracula's lair, or whatever it is exactly, and he ends up getting freed, and he was the one that was initially fighting Dracula and getting captured by him. And obviously with Blade, I mean, who else better to have at the center of the storyline with that? For someone who's fighting vampires other than Blade. That's his whole entire thing, so that makes sense. But I don't think that he's coming, though. Now, like I said, all this is speculation. I could be wrong, but I'll get to it in a minute as to why I don't think any of the people that I'm naming right now are necessarily coming in season 2. I do think they're coming, just not season 2. And that's the thing, is that, the live service game, we get new seasons every couple of months or so. I think a season usually lasts about 3 months or so, 2.5, or however long they choose to do each season. So there's definitely plenty of room in the future to bring these characters out potentially whenever they feel the need to, or whatever the case is. But like I said, there's a lot of people. I see a lot of people online, Twitter specifically, that are just, oh, Blade's coming. We're getting Blade in season 2. We're getting Ultron in season 2. And I don't think that we're getting them, and I'm about to get to why. So after that, we have Doctor Doom. And Doctor Doom has been one of the main people of the storyline in the game since the game released. It's all been Doctor Doom. There's posters of him everywhere, et cetera, et cetera. But once again, I feel like that they can have characters in the storyline and then be like overall characters and stuff like that, but not necessarily bring them into the game. And now I'll get to why I don't think any of these characters are coming in. So far, what we've kind of had to go off of is that each season's kind of had like a theme. Now we have only had one season so far, but so far the way that they've done it is like the seasons have had like a theme. You know what I mean? And that kind of makes sense to me, to kind of do somewhat of a theme and keep it on that theme, versus saying, hey, we're just going to kind of spout out 2 characters per season, or however many they choose to do. They said they were only going to do two characters per season, which that sounds like it makes enough sense, because if you think about it, like if they added too many characters at one time, it would kind of be hard to balance them all and just team up abilities and stuff like that. And they've already specifically said that with season 1, we got 2 characters per mid-season. So, the first half of season 1, we got, Sue Storm and Reed Richards. And then after that, we got Johnny Storm and the Thing. But they already said that this season was bigger than any of the coming seasons, and that we should expect only get about 1 character every half of a season, which would ultimately be 2 characters per entire season, right? So with that being said, there's been a lot of build up to mutants and stuff, which we already have mutants in the game. I mean, they came with mutants. You have Storm, Wolverine, et cetera. If I'm forgetting anything, let me know in the comments off the top of my head. But, we already have mutants in the game. But at the same time, it seems like they're hinting at bringing more mutants into the game, which I've said before, I think makes a lot of sense, simply because we're already kind of getting to that point where we're building up to things with the Marvel game. And it kind of makes sense to tie in certain things that they're doing, like in the Marvel Universe and MCU. And, the Fantastic Four, it made a lot of sense simply because, there's the Fantastic Four movie that's coming out sometime in July. I believe it's like July 7th or 14th or something like that. I can't remember the exact date, but I'm definitely about to pre-order tickets as soon as they go on sale. And I will be there probably on the night before that it releases, like those early, showings that they do like on the Thursday evening or whatever. So that's something I'm really excited for. But nonetheless, though, we have, they're already casting for the X-Men movies and stuff like that. And they've been building up to it for a while with the multiverse and stuff. I mean, if you saw Captain Marvel, spoiler alert, skip 30 seconds ahead if you haven't seen Captain Marvel, or not Captain Marvel, but the Marvels movie, and you're not interested in any kind of spoilers. But nonetheless, though, in the end credit scene, one of the Marvels actually went to one of the other universes or multiverses, whatever you want to call them. And when she woke up, she was actually in the X-Men's their medical facility, like under the school, like where they usually like like under the school where they do like they have like Cerebro and the training facility for the X-Men and stuff like that. When she awoke, she was actually being treated by Beast, and he was full on blue Beast form and everything like that. And it was actually I can't remember his name. I think it's Kelsey Grammer, whoever the guy was that played the original Beast in the original X-Men movies. Well, I mean, he wasn't in all of them. I think he was in like the third one, but nonetheless, you get the point that I'm making. So they're already building up to the fact that instead of just kind of saying, hey, the X-Men have existed this whole time in the Marvel universe, and for some reason we just never talked about them or hinted toward them or anything like that. It's actually a situation where I believe what they're going to do is with Secret Wars and stuff. And if you're not familiar with that, I'll probably make a short kind of explaining Secret Wars and how the MCU will probably utilize that to bring in some of their favorite characters and maybe even reboot some other characters like Iron Man or Captain America, where they can bring them in from other parts of the multiverse and stuff, and just kind of pick and choose who they want to keep, who they don't, et cetera, right? But nonetheless, though, with them building up to that, I do think that potentially X-Men will more than likely be coming. Now, as far as X-Men that have been hinted at, For Gambit has been being talked about for a while, but I do think that if Gambit came, he might come like later on down the road. And also Cyclops is the same way. They've talked about Cyclops, and the only reason that I think that people are really focused on Cyclops is because of the Jean Grey leaks. Now that's kind of where I'm headed at with this, is that Emma Frost and Jean Grey have been two of the most talked about and ones that just keep recurring in regards to being leaked. And the reason that I think that it makes the most sense is because at the end of last season, or I believe it was this season, with the whole Dracula storyline and stuff like that, when Dr. Doom took out Dracula, he actually said that he had a gala to attend, and there's actually been numerous different like signs in the game that have pointed to the Hellfire Gala. And if you're not familiar with the Hellfire Gala, it's basically just kind of like a giant meetup event for all of the X-Men. It's kind of like their who's who and all that kind of stuff. And they also choose the new members of the X-Men for that year or whatever the case may be, right? So it's a really big deal for X-Men. The fact that they're hinting toward that as being a potential storyline or event, however they choose to do it for season 2, it would definitely make sense to me that they would bring in X-Men for that, right? And like I said, the two X-Men that make the most sense, especially with it being the Hellfire Gala, one is Emma Frost. Emma Frost she was the one who originally hosted and set up with the help of some other people, but she was pretty much like the main host of that storyline originally in the first event for the Hellfire Gala. So, and like I said, a lot of people have already like dropped like potential leaks in regards to her skill set and stuff. And if you want to know more about that, I posted a video a couple of weeks. You can go through, you'll actually see it where it has her in the thumbnail. But nonetheless, though, Jean Grey, I feel like would just be like one of the best choices to also bring in. She's probably one of the most like notable next to, your Storms and Wolverine and Professor X and stuff. She is one of the original, X-Men from the original team and stuff like that. So that makes a lot of sense to me. And I think that's why a lot of people have been saying Cyclops may also be added in, simply because, Jean Grey and Cyclops are so closely tied, and they've always been, a couple and been married and stuff. Cyclops also has his ties to Emma Frost. There's been storylines where, like the House of M, where, he was actually in a relationship with her, but that was kind of like some finagling with Wanda. And like I said, we already have Wanda and Magneto in the game. So, it's just not too far-fetched. I definitely see how they could tie all those things together, and it would definitely make sense to me. Now, moving on from potential characters, we'll talk about the Hellfire Gala. So the Hellfire Gala, what I'm pretty much assuming they're going to do is, like I said, they're either going to do like the whole season will be themed around the Hellfire Gala, or they will like potentially do an event where they potentially release a bunch of different cosmetics for it. And in regards to the cosmetics, that was kind of the whole, like, not the whole thing, but one of the biggest aspects of the Hellfire Gala is that everyone showed up and they all they had some drip going, you know what I mean? Everybody was in their finest, just coolest, costumes and stuff. And it wasn't necessarily like their X-Men or superhero costumes. It was more just kind of like some people wore like, you had Captain America, that the man was wearing like some straight up 1940s drip type deal. You had different people like Magic, who showed up in like this really cool outfit that a lot of people have been, talking about, that they really want to be a skin. And, you had other people like Emma Frost, where she wore like it was kind of like this sparkly, diamond-y kind of like dress thing. So, what I mean? It was just everybody kind of had their own thing going, and pretty much every outfit that they wore would be an instant skin that would sell out. So it in my opinion, it just makes sense, right? Like if I was to put myself in the game developer shoes, I'm like, hey, what's going to make the most sense as far as an event and having skins, or like the theme of our season, and introducing X-Men and stuff. And then also being able to, basically, utilize cosmetics and stuff to the maximum potential that we could. So, that would make a lot of sense to me. And I definitely think that that's probably where we're headed with season 2. So the last thing that I want to cover is they, the creative director or the game director came out. I can't remember which one it was, but nonetheless, though, he just came out recently and said that they're going to be changing team ups. Now, this is something that I've been interested in for a while, because team ups are very interesting to me, right? Like some of the team ups don't really make a lot of sense to me. They just kind of seem very random, but not at the same time, not necessarily. Like, for example, you take like Rocket, right? Rocket is like a guardian of the galaxy, and you have guardians of the galaxy who have team ups, right? Like you have Mantis, you have what's his name, Adam Warlock, you have the Groot and Rocket team up and stuff, which kind of makes sense. But at the same time, though, you have like Rocket who teams up with Punisher and Bucky, which I get it. They're kind of like similar in the sense that they shoot stuff, you know what I mean? So like the infinite ammo thing kind of makes sense, but I feel like it's also kind of played out too, and I think the smart thing to do would be to change up, the team ups and stuff like that, because there's so many more, right? Like for another example of a team up that I've always kind of been like, I don't really know if I like that, is the Doctor Strange, Hulk and Iron Man team up, right? Like I get that like Iron Man and Hulk are both, into science and stuff. That's kind of their thing. I mean, Banner is more like I guess what you'd actually call like a scientist, whereas like Tony Stark is more of like an engineer. I feel like that's his kind of thing. Obviously, he makes like the Iron Man suits and AIs and different things, right? And it's even talked about in the movies how they both have like expertise in different areas and stuff, and that's why I think they both get along. They both respect each other in their fields and stuff. But the Gamma team up, I thought made less sense than, like, you guys remember in the first Avengers movie when Iron Man and Thor meet up for the first time and they're fighting or whatever, they're having their battle. It was actually him, Thor, and Captain America. They're like out in the woods and they're fighting, and Thor, hits Iron Man with a bunch of electricity, and his AI at the time, it goes like, energy levels are at like 1,000% or something like that, and he's able to like charge up off of that. Stuff like that made more sense to me, like using actual team ups, kind of like how you have Rocket and Groot, right? It's like that's their thing. Rocket jumps on Groot's shoulders, and I think he gets like a damage buff or something like that, and Groot gets like a damage reduction. I can't remember exactly how the team up works exactly. I have to go back and look at it, but nonetheless, though, that team up makes sense to me because they're actually very close. They consider each other to be family. I mean, since obviously all of the Guardians of the Galaxy kind of consider themselves to be like family. But at the same time, though, Groot and Rocket have been doing their thing since, before the Guardians even existed. They're kind of like brothers in that sense. So that makes sense to me. It would also make sense to me that maybe you switch it up and you give like Star-Lord infinite ammo, or maybe just like a damage buff or something when he's on a team with Rocket, something, right? Like there's a lot of team ups that would make a lot more sense to me, and not even so much just because it's a video game. It doesn't have to necessarily make sense, but just based on what has actually happened in comics and in the movies and different things and stuff like that, that they could definitely switch some stuff up here. Imagine like Wolverine if he got to use Magic's Rewind and just different things, right? So there's a lot of potential for them to play with different aspects of the team ups, and I definitely think that it's interesting the same way that they do. How they do like the seasonal buffs for different characters. Storm used to be really weak, and then they buffed her, and then she also has a seasonal buff which gives her like a certain amount of damage increase per season, and then the next season they'll take that away, and then they'll not her actual just regular buff she got, but her seasonal buff, along with other characters. I can't remember exactly who it is also that's got their seasonal buff, but there's a little icon next to the character that will let you know who's been buffed for that season. So there's a lot of different things that they could play with, and I think it's really interesting. But let me know in the comments, though, what you guys would be interested in regards to like seasonal buffs and stuff like that, or what characters do you think and why you think that there's more potential for one character to come over the other one? Because like I said, these are all just my thoughts and opinions. I mean, obviously I'm getting these from verified leakers, and when I say verified leakers, I just simply mean people that have a good track history of not just pulling stuff out of the the wazoo, right? Like they're actually getting this stuff from somewhere, and a lot of these people are the same people that have predicted what would happen in previous events and stuff and previous seasons, or season, I guess, but technically yes, you can count season 0. Nonetheless, though, like I said, let me know in the comments what you guys think. Are you interested in the Hellfire Gala and some of the different skins? What would be some of the skins you'd want to see if you're familiar with that? If you're not, let me know in the comments. And like I said, I'll be making a video, probably a video explaining the Hellfire Gala and why that's relevant. It may be a short, though. I don't know. Depends on how much I feel like talking about it at the time. And, you know, like I said, also too, let me know what you guys think about the team ups. What are some team ups that you guys would think, and you know, with the characters that we have, and what would be cool and how they could change and alter some stuff. I love to hear from you guys and what your opinions are, because like I said, I'm just one person. I can only go off of the things that I think of, but every day in the comments, you guys surprise me and think of really cool, creative, original stuff. And I love to chop it up with you guys and hear about it, you know. So, but this is Father Dark. I appreciate you guys for listening, and I'm out. I'll catch you on the next one.